Coming up in part 4 of Neil Franklin, Fame and Fortune.
Make sure the marketplace you're going into is the right one for you. You usually recruit people for what they know, and you sack them for who they are. I don't reject people here for bad education.
Neil Franklin has made £102 million out of the telecoms boom. 8 years ago, he started a specialist recruitment agency for skilled telecom staff. Data Workforce is now one of the UK's fastest growing companies. Not bad for a man who started out as a kitchen salesman. So, what would your advice be to our viewers about setting up in business? What are the lessons that you've learned?
The advice I would give people is, first of all, make sure the marketplace you're going into is the right one for you. And try and get to the point where it actually does not feel like work, what you do. And if you're in a job now and you're considering setting up on your own, if you've got that feeling, I would say that's the best way to start. If you have that feeling that you really enjoy it, fine. The next stage, of course, is to understand it implicitly. Absolutely, end to end. Every aspect of it, what's happening, why it's going the direction it is, etc. The third thing is to form an opinion. And this is the hardest thing, to take an opinion. Take a view and stick to that view. I mean, I'm not saying you don't flex it now and then, but just have a view. For me, the view was the freelance worker would be the work of tomorrow, because I didn't think that permanent employees could sustain the travelling demands alone, just by, you know, having to travel the world to meet the demands of their company. Then I saw the growth of the marketplace and thought, well, there's not going to be enough people anyway, so you're going to need somebody to supplement your existing workforce. So that was my opinion. Then you just have to understand your clients. If you don't understand your client's business, you have no business, because only then can you start to articulate value, because that's the only thing that people buy is value. Then you go into it and you give it every ounce of your day, of your time. Remember, it's not work. If you got it right, it's not work, so it doesn't matter. Make sure that if you employ people, they think the same way as you, and then don't be greedy. Allow them to develop with you. Other than that, it's easy.
Talking of recruiting good people, what kind of people do you have working for you?
Well, you take a standard list, and you hear it in every interview selection process across the world, you know, ambitious, dedicated, qualified for the thing. But there's a great saying that I'm coming to, okay? You usually recruit people for what they know, and you sack them for who they are. And that's what you've got to remember. So now I try and recruit people for who they are, on the basis that if you know, I'm assuming a good standard of education and the ability to learn, the ability to listen, etc. Then I can teach them. Now,
you mentioned a good standard of education, but you failed quite a few exams when you were younger.
No, you see, what my failing in education is the fact that I was too lazy to do it. It was work. It was easy. I didn't find A-levels a problem. I didn't find O-levels a problem. I worked out the formula for an O-level. You need to get 8 facts out of 20 to get a C. That's simple. So even if you wrote down the 8 facts of English history in whatever period, and your question is, you know, how many wives did Henry VIII did, and you name them all, that's a mark. So if I wanted to articulate that a little bit more, say professionally, but it's the wrong word, but it's the one I think of, then I might get a C plus or a B or whatever. So it wasn't ability with me, it was just pure laziness. So consequently, I don't reject people here for bad education, but they must show they can communicate. There's a big difference.
So what's the training like that your staff get here?
For the industry, they get the best. What happens is they go through a fixed period of technical training, sales training, but sales training in a very different way, because selling to me is not about teaching people how to sell. It's about teaching people to communicate using their personality, being themselves. And how many times have we seen the most unnatural salesman in the world try and present a product, and it just doesn't work? Whereas if you have somebody who's natural, who can relax, who can just communicate effectively, that's it, that's selling, it's done.
So, do you think everybody can be a salesman?
Who is not a salesman? Let's think about that. The doctor, he's selling you his expertise to cure you. The dentist, same thing. The accountant, to sort out your finances. The lawyer, you know, everybody's a salesman, and this is what the world is waking up to. In America, it's a profession that's very, very highly regarded. Over here, we have this stigma with it. But you've got to think about it every day. Why do you not go to that corner shop anymore? Because he was rude. Because he didn't sell to you. So if we break it down, this is exactly what I do, and I get people to realise what they buy and why they buy, and why they don't go back to certain shops or restaurants, and it's all people. Okay, if it's a food thing, then the people were lovely but the food was awful, you've heard that sometimes. In the main, it's people.
Coming up in part 5 of Neil Franklin, Fame and Fortune.
See, a mistake is only when it happens twice, not the first time. Because the mind, if it's too preoccupied, can't think. Quitter never wins, and a winner's too stupid to quit.